So Stephen A. Smith was going along swimmingly at ESPN. He was the man. And people bought into it because, well, at ESPN, the white dudes in the building 4 are afraid to do anything because they'll be called racist. And Stephen A. Smith understood that. Stephen A. Smith loud. Stephen A. Smith proud. Stephen A. Smith insecure. And what always happens with the insecure is this. They puff up their chest. They stick out their chin. They yell. They scream when they are in power. When they are the man. Well, guess what? Along came some other folks. What? Joe Buck making more. What? Troy Aikman making more. And then the hammer dropped. The BSD, we call it, the big swinging dick. And that was held by one Pat McAfee. Now, you got to understand Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is his own guy, and nobody in media is their own guy. Pat McAfee had a job, CBS Radio. He left that, had a job at Barstool. Not good enough. Started his own on YouTube. Guess what? Took off. And he became someone that ESPN bent down, got on their knees, wore the knee pads, and groveled to, and rightfully so. I mean, let's be honest. Fox over there with Big Noon Kickoff, Urban Meyer and the fellas making some inroads on College Game Day, really the signature show. The signature sports show of ESPN. That can't happen. They lost Bear. Well, guess what? McAfee came in and made it interesting, brought a new audience, saved the day. All the while, Stephen A. Smith was doing his little show in the mornings, yelling, screaming, and making enough money, well, more money than he should be allowed to. But then it came. McAfee at ESPN, it came out. He's making more. And that pisses the insecure off. The insecure are never happy for anyone's success except for their own. They front. Oh, do they front? They act, they front, whatever words you want to use, but then eventually, like everything else in this world, it comes out. I'm pissed. I'm jealous. I'm insecure. That's exactly what's happening here. So what happens? Well, according to the New York Post, SAS and Pat Mac got themselves into a heated discussion, which ended with the old Mother Hubbard being thrown. The Post has learned that in a private conversation several weeks ago between Pat McAfee, Stephen A. Smith, it got heated. Things escalated to the point where McAfee called Smith a mother trucker. The dispute arose from creative differences involving a yet-to-be-announced project that Stephen A. Smith is executive producing through his own production company, Mr. Stephen A. Smith Productions, that will ultimately air on ESPN. Well, here's the deal. You don't want to get in business with Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee is his own guy, and if you think you're telling Pat McAfee what you're going to do and you're going to involve him, that ain't going to work, and I'll tell you why. Because whatever Pat McAfee has done in the media has worked. Now, you got to understand, Stephen A. Smith has been fired everywhere that he's been. He found a niche at ESPN as the first DEI big-time hire. But you know what? Give him credit. I'll give Stephen A. credit 2 things. 1, nobody says a bad word about him at ESPN, including his producers. Seen as a nice man. Seen as a honorable man who does his job, does it very well. So Stephen A. Smith does that, and I'll also say Stephen A. Smith, along with Skip Bayless, established the ridiculous morning argument shows. They did. Now, you can say whatever you want about Bayless, but Bayless was the cog, and he saved Stephen A. Smith's career. I've told this story before. Driving to work, doing my show, Stephen A. Smith took over, and he was horrible on the radio. Horrible radio show. Well, they eventually fired him. I think it was a CBS radio station here in Indy. He gets fired. I thought, good, we don't have to listen to this idiot anymore. And then he showed up because Skip Bayless saved his career. Well, fast forward, Stephen A. Smith's the man. Not anymore. Pat McAfee came in, and he's the man. And why can't we all just get along? Rodney King famously said it. Well, I'll tell you why. Because insecure dude like Stephen A. Smith, who has been vocal about his money, vocal about being the highest paid, views it personally that McAfee is more popular and McAfee has more money in the bank from ESPN. It drives Smith nuts. Guys at ESPN tell me it's driven him absolutely nuts. Now, you can say Smith is competitive, and that's good, but there's nothing in his past to view him as competitive. It's just simply ego. And now two titans, I guess. I don't know. Here's what I do if I'm ESPN. Whoever I view as in the wrong, now you got to be careful here because we all know that Stephen A. Smith will first and foremost go to racism. But I got to tell you, if I'm the head men at ESPN or head women, but Stephanie Drewley is one of the top women, she's so ridiculous. Just look at her profile picture. It's a glam shot. What are you doing? But anyway, if I'm one of them, I'm trying to get this resolved. But if I can't get this resolved, Smith's going to have to go. Why Smith? Anybody can fill in those morning shows, but very few can help. Very few can help with game day. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but the ESPN NBA Countdown show remains the worst pregame, halftime, postgame show in America. It always has. They've never gotten it right. Why? Because they don't have team players. Charles Barkley's a team player. Smith is not a team player. Jalen Rose is not a team player. Mike Wilbon looks like an 80-year-old man sitting up there, and they got every little black girl that they can possibly find throwing them up there, hoping that it sticks, and it doesn't. It's ridiculous. It's horrible. But you know what it does? Gets the DEI folks and the diversity folks off their ass. But back to Smith. Smith's not going to get fired. Smith's going to get a raise. Smith is going to bitch, whine, and moan. McAfee and Smith will work together, and it'll all work out. But it is a little insight into how ESPN goes. I mean, guys come up the ranks, and they're so appreciative of being at ESPN. They love being at ESPN. I can't believe I'm at the worldwide leader walking the halls of ESPN. And then they get notoriety, and then they get some money, and now they think they have power. But the truth of the matter is, if ESPN said, yo, Stephen A. Smith, your contract's up whenever it's up, and we're not going to renew it, what's he going to do? What's he going to do? Start his own production company? That's good. It's like Tyler Hansbrough playing at North Carolina. Once North Carolina came off his chest and he played for the Fort Wayne Mad Ants, he's got nothing. McAfee's already proved that he can go out and do it on his own because he's uber talented. Stephen A. Smith is uber loud. Stephen A. Smith attracts himself to a very small portion of our listening audience, whereas McAfee has expanded the listening audience. And there's a big difference there. I'm wrong. Follow me here. If I'm the damn president of Indiana University and I need a basketball coach, I'm telling whoever, I'm paying you $1 million. You don't like it, go somewhere else. This is Indiana. If I'm ESPN, I'm calling either Smith or McAfee, whoever I deem in the wrong, and saying, look, this ESPN, either get with it or we're getting rid of you at the end of your contract. Now, that's fine for McAfee. But Smith has proven he can't compete out in the real world. He can't. He's been fired, literally fired. You guys say I've been fired. No. I've been fired once. But Stephen A. Smith been fired from every job he had before he got DEI hired by Skip Bayless and ESPN. He's built a great name. He's built a great brand. But the truth of the matter is, without ESPN, he don't have jack shit. Without ESPN, McAfee, what do you think? The difference between Smith and McAfee is Smith needed ESPN to build his brand. ESPN needed McAfee to enhance its brand. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a big difference. No. That's a massive difference. I know I'm wrong. I know hardball, but this would straighten it out. Yo, Smith, you're making, I don't know, whatever you're making. If you're going to be an insecure child, we'll let you go at the end of your contract. Well, what are you going to do to fill my spot? Please. Come on. I mean, who are you talking to? I mean, you find 10 guys to fill that spot. What are you, crazy? Stop it. McAfee's a little different. McAfee could tell them to suck it, go back to his life. Remember, McAfee turned down millions, canceled millions from a FanDuel contract to go make more millions at ESPN. McAfee leaves ESPN. He goes back to where he was. Guess what? The offers fly in. Stephen A. Smith goes back and has Stephen A. Smith, Mr. Stephen A. Smith Productions. Good luck with that. I'm Team McAfee. Here's the other deal. The Post also heard, this is the childishness. The Post also heard that in the aftermath of the spat, Smith had banned McAfee from appearing on First Take, where he had weekly Tuesday appearances during the football season. I have nothing but love for Stephen A. Smith. I think I'm still welcome on First Take. I was scheduled through the football season to join on Tuesdays. Hopefully next year that'll happen as well. And that is how it works. You get scheduled through a particular time. And in McAfee's case, he's so damn busy. Why would he want to appear every Tuesday on a show that does nothing really for him? Everybody knows McAfee. He don't need Tuesdays. Yeah, I always say when I read it, I don't believe it, whether it's the Post or the Star or whatever. But in this case, I do believe it. I do. Nothing but love. All right. Diva wide receiver alert. Woo, all right, Mike Thomas is pissed. Mike Thomas, the wide receiver, highly paid wide receiver from the New Orleans Saints, lost his ever-loving mind on X. I still call it Twitter. He lost his mind after a local New Orleans sports reporter tweeted that the franchise intended to release him. Oh, man. Don't hurt his feelings. Don't hurt Mike Thomas's feelings. Here's what Mike Thomas had to say. Apparently the man's name is Jeff Duncan. Funny how planning on releasing me if I was on a one-year deal. Let's read that again. You got to read it twice with these wide receivers. Jeff Duncan, funny how they planning on releasing me if I was on a one-year deal. Don't fall for it. He, the same dude that tried to be my friend in season after saying I wasn't the same player in training camp. Okay. All right. You know, guys think people are trying to be their friend because they say hello. Here comes Mike Thomas with more Ohio State education. Jeff Duncan is a hoe. Really? Trying to stay relevant. So let's speak on it. The Saints leak information to him to try to ruin players' value. But see, I'm not broke, so I can speak on it. He is broke, so he needs clicks. So now the Diva 20-something-year-old wide receiver has apparently delved into Mr. Duncan's funds. He's delved into his bank account. He knows because, well, when you're 20-something and you sign a big deal and you got like a fifth-grade education, but you're a wide receiver, so you're important, you know what adult men make. Go look at all his articles that never end up being true. Now, this is something I can get down with. No. Now, when you go to a writer and you say, look at the articles that end up not being true, Double D can get down with that. Because, man, I say this all the time, every single article that I have ever been involved in, every single one has either straight out lies, narrative switched, or everything twist. Every one. Never been involved with one that wasn't. So I'm with you on that, big boy. I am. I'm with you on that. Oh, and here we go. So here he is, Mr. White folks. Look at this clown. Y'all think he no ball. Yeah, right. Let's read that again. Look at this clown. Y'all think he no ball. Yeah, right. Y'all really clicking links to what he write. Well, I got to tell you, I side with Mike Thomas on this. I do. I side with Mike Thomas on this. I've always said, look, hey, have Nicole Ardball on. Oh, I spent 16 years with Bob Knight. What's some writer going to tell me about college basketball? I get that. No, I do. And I get that's the way that players think. Yeah, look at this clown. Y'all think he no ball. Yeah, right. Here's what you need to do. A lot of guys are smart that you see on Twitter. You know what they do? They get somebody to manage their Twitter. So you hire a firm, Mike Thomas. You got more money than sense. Don't expose the 8th grade education. Don't expose it. I know it's X. I know. But if you really want to make it in the corporate world, let me ask you a question. Think about the greats. Did you ever see Kobe Bryant do that? No, but you did see him rape and he got through it. You ever see Michael Jordan do that? Ever? Like, if you want to be among the greats, you ever see Jerry Rice do that? Joe Montana? Like, if you want to be among the greats, if you want to be respected, then you got to do it in every area. You can't just be, yeah, right. I mean, what are you doing? Hire somebody to do it. Tell them what you want to say. Have them send you a little tweet. Look at it. Approve it. That's all. But don't come off as a fool, because people don't side with fools. I mean, you'll have your guys. You'll have your crew. You'll have your posse. You'll have the little white guy that goes, oh, Mike Thomas, you got him. Oh, shut up. Shut up. You'll have those guys, but those guys would follow you off a 100-foot cliff. Don't pay attention to those guys. It's like guys like me in radio or TV that go to the store and someone says, hey, Dan, I like your show. And you think you've made it. No, don't listen to anybody. No. Follow the greats. That's what I've done in radio. Rush Limbaugh, Colin Cowherd, Tony Kornheiser. Those are the guys that I kind of model myself after because they're the greats. Be like Jerry Rice, Mike Thomas. Don't be like Slapdick Johnny from the South Side. Yeah, right. Look, I am shocked, though, and I got to give Mike Thomas credit for this. I am shocked that he did not go racial. I did not. I'm shocked that he didn't go old white guy. Everybody goes old white guy. White boy, cracker. You know what I'm saying? Everybody throws that out, and good for Mike Thomas. Mike Thomas kept it on the level of professionalism, sort of. Mike Thomas kept it way the guy wrote. I admire Mike Thomas for that because every little slap in the NFL, the NBA, Major League, wherever, that has no idea how to read, write, and arithmetic always runs to racism. I like Mike Thomas. Ohio State taught him well. I don't know his parental situation, but his parents taught him well. He kept it on the professional level. He didn't go to look at old white guy. I'm very, very, very defensive of old white guy. I mean, come on. This is old white guy. I am old white guy. Good for you, Mike Thomas. You go, That's my Joby Wright imitation when he gets excited. Joby coached me at Indiana. I love it. You go, man. You go. All right. Apparently, Dalton Schultz played tight end for the Cowboys. Yeah, he's pretty good. Apparently, it is, well, let's see, March. So if we're not going to talk about college basketball and we're going to talk about the NFL, we either got to talk about DIVA wide receivers or what team. Oh, we got to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Why? Because that's what we do. We talk about the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy getting fired ad nauseum. Mike McCarthy hasn't coached a football game in 2 or 3 months, but I'm sure every day on one of these shows that I don't watch, he's getting fired because it gets clicks. We got to talk about the Cowboys. Dak Prescott, how much should he be paid? Is he elite? Is he not? I get it. We got to talk about with Saquon Barkley going to the Dallas Cowboys. If the Dallas Cowboys can beat the Redskins, I mean, I don't know what the Dallas Cowboys, but shut up with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Dallas, nice town. Back in the mid-'80s, everybody went there. Everybody that I graduated with in college, like Mark Cuban and others, went to Dallas or went to Chicago and hung out. I get it. Texas Instruments was there. It's great. But fast forward, the Dallas Cowboys, if they weren't in Dallas, they would be the Chicago Bears a little better. There's nothing to see here, but we got to talk about him. And Dalton Schultz says, well, after leaving the team for the Houston Texans, he took a brutal shot at owner Jerry Jones. There are people in tours while you're in the weight room. That's what he likes. Let's hear from Dalton Schultz.
You're on national TV every single week. Practice facility is filled with, people paying for tickets for practice. Like it's a whole different world, allegedly. Yep. Have you enjoyed? Obviously, you enjoyed your time in Dallas. I'm not going to say that, but when you get to Houston, is it vastly different than your time in Dallas? Whenever you're talking about all the off the field, is it? Is that real?
That was one of the first things that kind of stuck out to me. Is like, it feels like much more, I don't want to say college because it's not, but like the focus is just football, you know what I mean? And going back and like telling some people like how kind of being around the Cowboys, like practice facility and, you know, game day, describing some of the interactions and stuff that you see on a day-to-day basis, like surprised a lot of people. They're like, holy crap, like that actually happens like at a practice facility. And like, you know, it's just, you think it's normal. And then you come to a place like this.
Like what? You don't have to out anything, but like, what are you?
No, dude, it's just like there's people literally going on tours while you're lifting in the weight room, and they've got like a one-way mirror for people to like look at. Like it's a zoo, dude. Like, there's people tapping on the glass, like trying to get people's attention as they're doing, you know, power cleans or whatnot. And it's different. And I mean, that's the brand that they've built. That's what Jerry Jones likes. That's the way that they run things. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, you don't realize like how many, you know, eyeballs and how much that can maybe, you know, distract from, you know, stuff just in the locker room, being in the facility, until you go somewhere else and you're like, holy crap, like, dude, there's none of that. Like, this is, you know, also a really well-run organization in Houston. And I think that was one of the things that kind of scared me about like leaving Dallas the most, is like, I wasn't sure what another organization would kind of feel like. And dude, I got here and it was like, this place is a well-oiled machine. Like, it's, you know, coaching staff, the coaching changes, I can't speak to the previous stuff, but like the strength staff is phenomenal. The training staff is unbelievable. This has been the most like trainers that I've ever seen on a staff.
Okay, and I never played for the Cowboys. Pac-Man did play for the Cowboys, but we kind of get.
I want you to think about this. Think about this. The Dallas Cowboys, historic Tex Schramm, Gil Brandt, Tom Landry, Roger Staubach are being dissed in favor of the Houston Texans. Now think about that. They're not being dissed in favor of the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots under Brady and Belichick. No, they're being dissed based on the Houston Texans by a player. And here's the thing with players. They know. Players always know. It's funny. When I was the head coach at West Virginia, the weight room had a window up top. And one day, about my third day there, workouts, I was pissed. Football coaches were watching, and as I'm going batshit crazy. Players weren't working nearly hard enough in the weight room. 2 of them showed up late. I'm throwing things. I'm firing things against the wall. Next thing I know, I look up, and I'm like, oh, crap. Like 50 football coaches there for a football clinic are just like this. I got so many letters from them after. I got letter after letter back in the day when you wrote letters from football coaches all around, I guess it was West Virginia. I have them here somewhere saying, man, that was awesome, right? But it's not any good. Like, if you're working out, lifting weights, you should be doing it in private. If you're doing your professional job, you don't need to be in a cage with people tapping on the glass. I mean, think about that just for a second. Now, if you're doing a show, if you're an entertainer, yeah. Hey, look, we have a studio. Well, when I worked at Emma's, we had a studio right on the street where people could look at the show. Not my show. I didn't want to do it down there because people are mooning them, crapping, throwing it against the wall. I mean, downtown Indy's a train wreck, but that's what would happen. But you shouldn't have to be Dalton. Micah. Hey, look, man, I got like 7,000 pounds I'm trying to lift over my head and not kill myself here. Do you mind for a moment? No, sign this for my son. You shouldn't have to deal with that. Truly, you shouldn't have to. Hey, I'll deal with it in a show. You kidding me? I should open that window and tell people, come watch the show. But then I'd have people in my yard, and I don't need that action. The dog would be barking. Things would be crazy. But man, oh man, in a professional football environment, when you're, quote, in the building, that just should not happen, not even a little bit. Our friend Charles Barkley's lost his mind, but I'll give him this credit. Charles Barkley's show had historically bad ratings on CNN or CNN Plus. I'm not sure where it is, but I will say this. Charles Barkley being a lunatic now, being an anti-Trump lunatic, talking about beating up African Americans that would wear Trump's mugshot, that has garnered interest. We're talking about it. I don't think I've talked about Sir Chucky's show. I don't think I have. I've actually just said, hey, look, Chuck's got a show. Yay, because I like Chuck. He's a friend of the show. But Charles now walked back his I'm going to kick the hell out of every African-American that wears a Trump mugshot. Here's what Sir Charles had to say.
And obviously, I'm only speaking for myself. The reason I think the Democratic Party and Mr. Biden, President Biden, is losing black votes is they only care about black people every 4 years. Mm-hmm. They come into our neighborhoods and say, we're going to make stuff better. We're going to do this, do this, do this. And then finally, us black people are like, man, other than my ability to dunk a basketball, all my neighborhoods are still the same. Our schools are still the same. And that's why I think black people are leaving disappointed in the Democratic Party, because I ain't gonna lie, I voted Democratic every time just because I thought it was gonna help black people and poor people. Because black people and poor white people, they're in the same boat. And I didn't care who the president was, I'm not gonna lie, but I only voted Republican one time in my life, and that was for John Kasich, and I didn't even know he couldn't win. But then I'm starting to look like, man, I understand why black people are leaving, want to vote for somebody else, because every 4 years they come into our neighborhoods and say, man, we're going to make things better for you. When Donald Trump compares his plight with that of the black person, that is what I had a problem with. Mm-hmm. Now, I do want to say this. I want to make it perfectly clear. If you're a black person and you're wearing a Donald Trump mugshot, you are a freaking idiot. And I'm only saying freaking idiot because they won't let me say what I really want to say. But you can figure it out. It starts with an F.
Well, he doesn't know what he's talking about here, because he did not compare his plight. He basically said, they're coming for me. They're coming for you, but they're doing it through me. I mean, Charles Barkley got the whole thing wrong, and that's okay. I mean, look, I don't expect him to get it right. He didn't compare himself. So many senators, African-American senators that were there, have come out and said, yeah, he's taking this when it was really this. But that's typical, right, when you're trying to make a point. What is he really going to do? What's he really, really, really going to do? He going to whoop some ass? Why is it that all of a sudden guys my age, and Barkley is my age, we're going to start whooping ass all of a sudden? My wife, I told you this, when I was getting mouthy one time, she's like, hey, Dan, I'm sure there was a day you were tough, but this ain't the day. You ain't tough. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then I took off my shirt, looked in the mirror, and I'm like, oh, man. If I hit somebody, I'd hurt my hand. Flab and fat would be bouncing back, right, straight forward. Boobs would be bouncing if I punched somebody. No, I don't need that. I might throw my shoulder out, and I'd probably hurt my knee. And Barkley at 61 ain't no different. So all this, you're an idiot. We're gonna beat you. Shut up. Just be smart, funny like you are. But if I'm an African-American man and I was big and strong, I'd walk right up to Charles with my Trump shirt and say, okay, what are you going to do? Somebody in their 20s and 30s. And that's the reason Barkley backed down, because a lot of African-American men, combat veterans, have done that.